I want to take a moment to talk about a program that we are launching again this year to recognize the amazing women of Baltimore City. The contributions that women have made to our society and continue to have a strong impact on our world is the reason that I created Inspired to Inspire, an essay program dedicated to recognizing the inspirational women who live in Baltimore City. These women will be honored as part of Baltimore City's celebration of Women's History Month during March. Each and every day, I see women dedicated to living their best lives, pursuing personal and professional goals while serving their families and their communities. And we know that the next generation of women leaders are watching and are learning. I invite everyone to nominate the woman who is or was the most inspirational woman in their life. The criteria is that the nominee must be 18 years of age or older and a resident of Baltimore City. During the first week of Women's History Month, I will announce a selected 7 inspirational women of this program. These women, along with other inspirational female icons from Baltimore's past and present, will be recognized throughout the month of March. I will share Inspired to Inspire videos featuring our 7 women on Facebook and on Twitter, along with other stories that I hope that you'll enjoy. I applaud the inspirational women of Baltimore, and I hope that you will join me as we celebrate women's history and nominate a woman who has inspired you. The winners will join me for a private dinner at the French Kitchen at the Lord Baltimore Hotel, and they'll also have some other prizes as well. And I look forward to reading the essays about these women and spending the evening with them. For more information on the program or to submit an entry, visit baltimorecity.gov/inspired. I'll open up for questions.
Do we have an estimate of costs or a handle on costs for the snow removal?
So we have a rough estimate right now based on the projections, and again, this is without all of the accounts being closed, meaning all of the bills being submitted. We believe the estimate will be between 15 and 17 million.
How does that compare to other years? Because obviously, even though we got smacked.
Yeah, it blew it out of the water. This is a bad year. Yeah.
Because the amount in 2010 was 21.6 million total. That was 2 storms, 2 big storms.
So that number is just for the one storm, the 15 to 17 million?
Yeah, we have some more storms?
Well, we had a couple
Probably might have some.
snowstorms here and there. I just wanted to make sure that wasn't the whole yearly total.
No, just the one
Right.
blizzard. The estimate is 15 to 17. I hope that we won't, have any more.
Well, actually, that's a great question. I mean, there was snow in the forecast yesterday. Was that?
That's nothing. I mean, that was, comparatively speaking, that was nothing.
Today, the board approved a $1 million consultant agreement to study the Hanover Street bridge. Obviously, that is a bridge that many people view as being in great need of repairs. What time frame are you looking at, and what kind of total costs are could this project be?
Right. I can give you I can follow up with you and give you an exact answer on the time frame. With respect to total cost, we don't know. And that's a challenge that we have, not just with the Hanover Street Bridge, but with decaying and outdated infrastructure throughout the city. We've had, I've talked about this for years, how infrastructure costs, and that's infrastructure above ground and underground, continue to rise in Baltimore City and cities across our country. And that is why I think it's so important that we look for creative partnerships with our federal government and with our state government to share the cost of this vital infrastructure. That bridge is not just a Baltimore bridge. It services Baltimore County, Anne Arundel County, Howard County. I think it's important to have a broader conversation about these infrastructure costs and how how we will continue to finance it. And when I mention the county, that it's a bigger picture than that. It's a regional bridge. the infrastructure in our cities across the country do more than just service cities, and it deserves a broader conversation.
There's a lot of development proposed for moving at Port Covington. Did that play into the bridge coming up now?
So if you look at the engineers' reports around the bridge has been labeled as needing significant repairs for years.
Yeah, I just wondered that presumably if Port Covington goes through, there'll be a lot more traffic on the bridge, is the reason I asked.
Port Covington, as the proposals there are exciting, but that doesn't change the declining conditions of the bridge, which have been bad for years. And just as every other bridge that is on that list of needing repairs cycles through, this Hanover Street Bridge cycled through, and we're going to get started on it. And when I say cycles through, you take the worst of the worst, and then you go to the next, and in the next tranche, the next tranche.
Are you asking a bridge question?
No, I'm not.
Okay. I just want to get your reaction to something. As you're probably aware, the state is trying to delay all of the Freddie Gray trials. Are you concerned that the city might not get closure as far as the criminal justice process, possibly after you leave office at this point?
No, my concern is that there's justice, and my concern is that the process run its course. And the determination of both of those things are not mine to judge. We've done everything that we could. I've done everything that I could to provide the information necessary for for the police investigation to then go into the state's attorney's office. We've worked very hard to reach a settlement with the family so we could have closure for the things that we control. Those other things are out of my control, and it's not for me to judge whether what the trial date should be for any of the trials, nor do I care one way or another if it happens while I'm still mayor. I mean, that is not a concern of mine.
Madam Mayor, the city of Ferguson is trying to push back against some of the mandated costs involved in its consent decree with DOJ. What kind of room for negotiation do you expect the city to have with the DOJ as you work out the consent decree?
I think it's very premature to even speculate about that. But the fact that Ferguson is having those conversations underscores the conversation that we've had in this room about the need to have adequate counsel. My concern that I raised at that time is that when you enter in a consent decree, as much as we fight for reforms, and my record is very clear on that, we also have to make sure that the reforms that we seek and that we agree to are the most effective and efficient use of taxpayers' money. And that's why having effective counsel gets us there.
Do you have any sense of how much the consent decree?
No, again, I think it's premature, but it was with the understanding of the consent decrees and the costs related to those that really prompted were the foundation for that decision to make sure that we had good representation. Because I've heard from mayors who are in that same fight that Ferguson is in to make sure that they're not being wasteful with taxpayers' money as we work to achieve meaningful reform.
Regarding the demolition money,
Mm-hmm.
There's been some debate over whether that money is actually coming, whether it's real, and it wasn't in the budget. The governor says he's going to put in a supplemental budget, but is waiting on the city to take action. There was an MOU that was approved today. What's your understanding of this situation, why we haven't seen the money yet?
I think with respect to waiting on the city, I think the governor misspoke. I mean, the MOU was a very complicated agreement. The stating authority had recommended changes, the state had recommended changes, we had recommended changes up until the last minute before it was submitted. So to suggest that he was waiting for the city, he either doesn't understand what's going on or he misspoke. And I'll say that it was, I'll chalk it up to him that he misspoke. With respect to the amount, I'm very excited that the governor has dedicated $75 million in new money to vacancy to value. We've said over and over again that vacancy to value is an initiative that works to eliminate blight and revitalize our communities. We've also said it needs more investment, and Governor Hogan heard that, so I'm pleased about that. I think the rest of that money, I think it's up for it's not for me to determine the bulk of the remainder of the funds.
Can you offer any insight into what negotiations were over, what points might have been discussions?
You know how lawyers are. I mean, it's the fine points of who's responsible for what at what point. All of it. It was pretty standard negotiations to make sure everyone was clear around the table about what we were going to do, the time frames, all of those things. Who was responsible for what? It wasn't contentious. It was just making sure that we got it right.
What is the master plan of the demolition strategy? As you drive around parts of, particularly West Baltimore, you see this more than East Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
You see some pretty ragged blocks.
Mm-hmm.
So you've had some demolition, now there's some grass growing, it's trash strewn. The sides of the existing structures are, they haven't been finished.
Mm-hmm.
So is that what we're gonna be left with? What's the city gonna be left with when this?
The city is going to be left with revitalized communities, moving at a pace that the city has never seen before as far as demolition and reconstruction. I mean, the facts are the facts. My administration has the most ambitious and well executed demolition plan that I've seen in the 20 years that more than 20 years that I've been in public service. And I have a suggestion for the award-winning journalists. Let's get out there and walk it together, and we can talk about the strategies, and I can show it to you, and you can do a whole story for next year's awards season on vacancy to value.
The properties that are being torn down, I mean, I just noticed that there's a whole block on, I think Stricker,
Mm-hmm.
that's in the process of being torn down.
Mm-hmm.
So not all of those properties, how difficult has it been to get your hands on those properties?
And that's why I said it's worth a longer conversation, because it is a long process. Some of the properties are city-owned. I think about a quarter of the vacant properties in the city are city-owned. That means that we have done a lot of work with receivership actions. We've done a lot of relocation. It's a complicated process, and I'd love to walk you through it and show you some of the neighborhoods that we've done. So you can look at before and after. You can see some of the ones that are in process, as well as the ones that we're gearing up for.
Madam Mayor, does the city's property tax rates give people a disincentive not to, renovate some of these properties?
So the fact that our property tax rate is higher than the surrounding jurisdictions has been a problem. It has exacerbated the problem of flight and blight in our city, and that's why I focused my administration on reducing the property taxes more than any administration, as I said, at least the 20 years that I've been in public office, and with the eye on continuing to lower the property tax rate. But you also have to understand there are tax credits available when you fully renovate properties that help even out that incentive, to sort of push back on that disincentive.
One more, guys? A lot of the focus on the demolition plan has been on the actual tearing down of buildings, at least in the press. There's also a substantial amount of money for redevelopment in there. Do you have thoughts about the types of things that might be able to go into some of these communities? And also, why is tearing down a requirement before we get redevelopment, I guess?
So it's not an either or. This is an and that's why the project vacancy value has received international acclaim. It's because we understand that it's a very complex set of moving parts in order to move a city forward. It's not an either or. Yes, we have demolition because it is important in some areas. You demolish so you can, in some cases, to offer lots for RFPs or for investors to come and to make proposals for what should be there next. Sometimes you do demolition because you know that investment won't be returning to this area in a while because of the market, but you don't want those neighbors who are still there to have to live with vacant structures, so you demolish it so you can make way for community green space. There are lots of reasons to demolish, and that is happening at the same time that investment and redevelopment is happening. And you shouldn't forget about the fact that it's not just the dollars that the dollars that we're spending that is pushing or creating reinvestment, but it's also the private investment that has been spurred by the work that we're doing that is helping to revitalize our communities.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.